Minnesota.
Yes, hello, and thank you for watching. We are going to talk today about multiple reasons why people would move to the great state of Minnesota, or maybe why they wouldn't move to the great state of Minnesota. So just a few months ago, I crowdsourced on Instagram why someone might want to move to the state of Minnesota, and also on the flip side, why someone may not want to move here. And after growing up here for my entire life, I spent a few years away, but I came back here for some of the reasons that were listed, actually. So let's dive right in. The number one reason people always love Minnesota, well, I shouldn't say everybody because I can't speak for everybody, but the most common response that we got when we were talking about reasons why someone would love living here is that we truly have 4 seasons.
Yes.
What's your favorite one?
4 dramatic seasons. I love fall.
Very dramatic seasons.
Fall is my favorite.
Fall,
hands down.
Everybody loves fall. Pumpkin spice lattes, apple orchards. Do girls still wear the tall Ugg boots, or is that like a early 2000s thing?
But I love getting out my smart wool socks.
Fall is definitely a favorite. If you ever have a chance to go up to the North Shore during the fall and watch the leaves change, it is truly remarkable. It is like, it's one of the most beautiful things you can ever see.
The colors are insane.
Yes, so 4 seasons is wonderful. The lake life in the summer.
What's your favorite?
What's my favorite? My favorite is summer. I like the heat. I love to play outside, go to the pool, go to the lake. I love the heat.
And you know what? As I think more about this answer, I really like all 4 seasons. Ironic. But I like the start of each season. Like the start of spring is so amazing to feel that warmth starting to come through in the air, the birds chirping. It feels like life after the long winter. And then summer is super fun. The start of summer is super fun. Start of fall is amazing. And then the start of winter, the first snowfall during the holidays, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
More on winter in a little bit.
Okay, another pro. Number 2.
Okay, number 2. Another common response was cost of living. Mm-hmm. Our cost of living here in the state of Minnesota is really, it's pretty moderate when you look at the cost of housing, the cost of gas and groceries and all these things. And I would say our school system sort of also plays into that because in a lot of other states you have to budget to send your kid to private school because the public school system is maybe below average. Here our public school system is actually very good. So we are known as a little bit of an expensive state just because of the way our tax structure is. We are a little bit more expensive when it comes to taxes, but overall, it's a really great place to live when you compare the average income to what your expenses are going to be. So for that reason, people love to live in Minnesota.
Well, we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies in the state of Minnesota, and that come with great job opportunities. So there's a lot of people in Minnesota with great income.
Well, let's just go right into that because that's one of the other ones we have on here.
Well, sweet. And number 3, you kind of led into that too.
I did. Okay, so number 3 was great school systems. We already talked about that. You
Public
can do your
and
own,
private.
Yeah, you can do your own research on that, but a lot of the top school districts in the entire country are actually located right here just outside the Twin Cities, so that's pretty cool. But the one that Carissa just mentioned, which is job opportunities, is a massive, massive opportunity for people who want to relocate to our state or who are career oriented because like she was saying, we're the headquarters for a lot of major companies.
Target,
Best Buy, 3M. I mean, we could go on.
Caribou, Dairy Queen.
Yeah, we could go on for a long time. So for that reason, it's a really great place as well.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to the job opportunity front?
No, but school system, I would say we have a great public school system. We also have a lot of private schools around the area. We have charter schools. We have outdoor schools, which has been gaining popularity in the last couple of years. Just a lot of different options for your child, which is super cool.
Yep. Cool. Okay, the next one was bigger city with some small town vibes. I would agree with that. Minneapolis definitely has a city feel. St. Paul has a little bit more of like a small town city feel. But I will say you get to some of the pockets of Minneapolis, like South Minneapolis, Northeast, even North Loop, and they're kind of tight little communities. There's lots of little breweries, things to do.
The neighborhoods are close, which is super cool.
And then you go right outside. You go to like the Duluths and even like Rochester or Winona. Some of these other cool little towns that are spread. They definitely have some small town vibes.
Yeah, I was just going to add to the Minneapolis part in that the neighborhoods feel like closer, small town, tight-knit communities. For an example, we just went to a birthday party for a little boy who had it at their local fire station, and his dad was getting a haircut and sat next to the fire chief, who he knew, and they just got in conversation and were talking about how his little boy likes fire trucks, and then his birthday party was at the fire station. So just super cool. Yet they live in Minneapolis. So you think of Minneapolis as a big city and stuff like that doesn't happen when really their neighborhoods are really close, which is super cool. But yeah, small town vibes. I mean, we live in a suburb of Minneapolis about 20 minutes south, and I would say even our suburban town, which has a population of what?
Like 60,000.
65 probably. We have a downtown, which feels like a small town. Mm-hmm. And we get together every the beginning of the July, right after the 4th, for a little community celebration, which is cool.
Yep.
Another reason,
and we have to remember who was crowdsourced here. This was my social gathering group. Although I will say this would apply for many other people as well.
Yeah.
And that's hockey.
Yeah.
Especially pond hockey. We are the land of 10,000 lakes in the summer and the land of 10,000 hockey rinks in the winter.
Yep.
And people in our state love hockey.
We're the state of hockey.
We are the state of hockey. And the Minnesota High School Tournament is a very special thing here. In fact, we have a video on it. We'll link it somewhere in this video so you can watch that too. But we have a rink in our yard. Many other people have rinks in their yard. We love hockey here in Minnesota. So if you're a hockey fan, you would love it here. But also if you're not, you will become one.
Yes, you will.
Okay, the next one. The Minnesota State Fair.
Woo!
Also something we did a video on, and we will link that somewhere in here as well. State Fair is so much fun. It is an iconic state fair. There's nothing like it across the country. People live for it. There are people who go every single day, and it's like 2 weeks long.
Yeah, they camp.
Yeah,
It's insane to me.
We bring in huge acts, like massive national scale or international scale artists to perform at the
every night
concert venue. Yeah, every single night. So it's just a really, really fun.
And they do a really good job of incorporating the communities surrounding. They do high school, or they do a parade, I think, twice a day, or maybe it's once a day. I thought it was twice. But anyways, they'll bring in local high schools, and their marching band will participate in the parade. And then they have like a Veterans Day and Kids Day, all sorts of themed days. So it's fun. It's an awesome time. Another one, we kind of touched on this, just the 4 seasons in Minnesota, but along with the 4 seasons comes outdoor activities that a lot of people like to participate in certain seasons.
Yes, and we could probably talk a lot about that because you can take that all different, right? Like we have Saints games. That's an outdoor activity to me because we go there and we sit there and socialize. In Minnesota, we love the outdoors. Yeah. And in the summer, we love it because it's short.
Yep.
You know, I think I lived in Florida for many years, and I think when you live in
you don't appreciate it.
You take it for granted.
Yep.
And for us, when it's 75 and sunny,
we are outside,
or 95 and sunny, we are outside. Mm-hmm. And so we do that in all seasons.
And when it's 10 degrees, we're outside.
Yeah. Everybody always would say, Trent, why did you move back to Minnesota? Or like, what do you do in the winter? And I'm kind of like, well, you just have to find something to enjoy. If it's cross-country skiing, or if it's hiking, or maybe it's taking your dog to the parks and walking the trails. Snowshoeing. I mean, there's all these different things, riding snowmobiles. And so you just have to make the most of the season. And sometimes some are more fun than the others, but there's always something to do.
With each season brings a new activity. And I think in Minnesota, we do a great job of appreciating every season and living it to the fullest.
Yep.
Summer boats. Lake Minnetonka is a huge lake in our area. People love to go out and boat on the lake in the summertime. Yep. Hiking in all seasons.
Yes.
If you've never heard what a fat bike is, we fat bike in Minnesota. And it's super fun. Trent bought me a fat bike for my birthday one year, and I loved it.
It's a blast.
Yeah.
Look up fat bike.
Next.
All right, let's rock and roll through here. Okay, so another great reason. This is, I think, reason number 9. We're just cruising through here, but reason number 9 is very clean city overall. Yep. And we've had a lot of people ask us about this and mention this when we take them Two places like downtown Minneapolis or downtown St. Paul, they always talk about how clean it is.
I would say St. Paul is a little bit more well kept than Minneapolis if I'm going to compare the two. They both overall do a very nice job. Minneapolis just has a little bit more traffic and they have a lot more companies.
Dense population too.
So it's a little bit harder to control, to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I used to work for a company who everyone was out of state, and when they would come into town and we would meet with Target, the first comment out of their mouth was, wow, it's so clean here. Now, they're coming from places like New York, but still, it was super cool to hear because I don't think we necessarily appreciate that and how clean our city is. They have to pick up after all 4 seasons, so we have street sweepers and all sorts of stuff going pretty much at all times.
Yep.
Okay, my favorite.
All right, the last one is the nice people. And I would agree.
Yes.
We have the nicest population of human beings, I think, and people look out for each other.
Yep. There's a reason why people call it Minnesota nice. It's no joke. People are really nice.
People are very, very
sometimes
nice.
A little too nice, which leads to them being very passive. But overall, you could walk into a restaurant, coffee shop, whatever. They are going to greet you. They are going to ask you how your day is. They're going to thank you. They genuinely they care about you, which is just super cool. So, Minnesota nice. Proud of it.
Minnesota nice is a real thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, the cons.
All right, let's talk about the bad things. The reasons why you never want to move to Minnesota. Okay, let's let the cat out of the bag here. It's cold. Okay. I have a note on here. The shoulder seasons are completely unpredictable. So Carissa mentioned it's kind of the land of extremes. In the summer, it can get really, really hot, like 100 degrees, over 100. Humid.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't really understand that. The summers can be very hot. In fact, they usually are hot. It's very rare that they're not. And the shoulder seasons, like fall and spring, can be very hit or miss. We were just talking yesterday. There are days in March where it's like in the 40s and there's no snow anymore. And we're in shorts and a t-shirt because we're used to negative 20. Yeah. And then there's days in May, like Carissa's birthday is in May, and we had over a foot of snow one year for your birthday.
In 2013. It was crazy.
Yeah. So the shoulder seasons are just very unpredictable. It can be 70 one day and 10 degrees the next day with snow on the ground.
Yeah. You will know they are a true Minnesotan when you're seeing someone walk into a hockey arena in flip-flops. It's a real thing.
Yep. And so if you want to know what the winter is like, I always say November, December are like super reasonable months, especially as we go into the holidays. You're kind of excited about it.
Yep.
Then January hits and it's like January's pretty cold. February is like really cold. March starts to get a little snowier and
March
a little more
is definitely
mild.
Heavy snow.
And then the hope is always that once April hits, we're in the clear. So I call winter like January, February, March.
Yeah.
That's 3 months, but some people can't stand November, December either. And April sometimes is iffy, which makes winter long. So that's why I think it's important to get out and find an activity you like that you can, because then winter just goes by so much faster.
So it's cold here, and the winters can be long depending on the year.
They certainly can. And it gets really dark.
It does. I would say I'm more affected by that than the temperatures. It's not necessarily the -10, because -10 can feel very differently. Like,
I agree.
If there's not a wind chill, it's fine, and you're kind of used to it. Your body is. I'm Swedish, so this is great weather for my body. But it's just when it gets dark at 5 o'clock.
Before that. It's dark by like 3:30.
And then you wake up and it's still dark and you're like, I didn't choose to live in Alaska. Why does it feel like that?
And on the flip side, our summers are light till 10 o'clock.
Yeah, so it's weird.
Okay, the next one. Our walkability as a city is really not very good.
Yeah.
We have a really good public transport.
Yeah, we do.
So if you live kind of within the inner city or like right on the first suburb layer outside of that, you can get around by train or by bus pretty well. But it's really not, it's not a place where you just like can't have a car. You pretty much need a car if you live in the Twin Cities. There's no way around that.
So New Yorkers, if you don't have a driver's license yet, get one if you're coming to Minnesota. The good news about Minnesota too, now I'm talking about the pros. I have a pro for every con. We do have Uber and Lyft. Unlike our neighboring state, Wisconsin, Western Wisconsin specifically, where it's nearly impossible to find an Uber or Lyft, we do have plenty
It's all
of
farm
Uber
country.
and Lyft. I know, but even in their cities, like on the river, you can't find an Uber. Cheeseheads. Well, we have Uber and Lyft here in Minnesota, even in the suburbs. Low overall diversity.
Well, I have a sub-bullet point
Okay.
for the driving one.
Go for it.
So I had a lot of people respond with this, actually, which is why I put it in here. It's that driving actually can really suck during construction season. Like because of our weather, our extreme weather, roads crack, they get potholes, they get very beat up, and it creates a nightmare on major highways for like the entire summer.
Yeah.
Just
Well, they can only do that in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
so
we
it
only
is
have
what
a
it
small
is.
window to operate.
Yeah.
So, number 3 is far from vacation spots. I think what she meant by this when she
I'm going to argue that because it's centrally located and it's
Well,
not that
but-
far north. So any coast, you're the same distance.
Yes, but I think what she meant by that was that, if you live in Atlanta, you can like drive to Savannah,
Sure.
Charleston, Florida,
Sure.
Destin,
Yeah.
Mobile, Alabama. Like you can go to all these places. And here, we don't have that access, but
Yeah.
you know what we have access to is the North Shore,
Yeah.
places in Wisconsin. We've got cabin country, so you could maybe see this as a con. And like you said, flights out of Minneapolis are very easy
it's
and
a
they
dream.
go everywhere.
Yes.
So yes, we're not located like within a couple hours of the beach
Yep.
per se, but this is arguable.
Yes, and it's the old Northwest Airlines hub. Our airport, it's huge. It's an international airport. So there's a million Delta flights going in and out every single day. And I can't remember the last time I've flown to a destination where I had to get a connecting flight, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of direct flights.
Yep.
So,
Okay, next one is low overall diversity. This one I think I
We're
could
getting
debate.
better.
And it's debatable too. We have
Yeah.
a really big Somalian population. And I actually remember one time having a discussion with someone who had just moved here, and I said, "Why?" I said, "What is the attraction to the Somalian population or the East African population to Minneapolis?" And they said, "The people."
yeah.
He said, he was like, it's kind of like the common place is people feel like it's a great place to raise a family and everybody's really nice.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
That's
But
really
overall
cool, yeah.
diversity was one of the cons that was listed. What specifically she meant by that, I don't know. But I think we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Number 7 was it's cold.
Yes.
Realistically, these were all, if we had 100 responses, 90 of them
Yeah.
were about winter.
And people always ask us, they're like, do you have to drive a snowmobile to school to drop your kids off? Like, how do you get around in the winter?
Which
They
is a
just
real thing.
don't-
That does happen.
Yes, not where we live, but it does happen in other parts of the states, places I've never even been to. But where we live, you can
Because
drive.
you're sheltered.
If you've never driven in Minnesota on a snowy winter day, just don't. If you have no experience, it's challenging.
I would
Try to
say
get a ride with someone who does have experience.
people who are experienced can handle it
Yeah,
no
it's
problem.
fine.
But if you don't know how to do it, black ice is a real thing.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the other ones that was commonly listed as a con is the mosquitoes.
And ticks. We have mosquito and
Mosquitoes,
ticks here.
and so I guess maybe bugs. But you know what? We're lucky because where I used to live in Florida, it's cockroaches and snakes and you're like, ugh. I'd way rather have ticks and mosquitoes.
Yeah, and like ticks and mosquitoes are not what you see in like the movies or on the news. It's very dramatic. We live on acreage, and knock on wood, but I haven't found a tick on any of us this entire season this year, which is pretty remarkable. Last year there was a couple on Ezra, but it's not that big of a deal as long as you catch and check for them. There's creatures and bugs in every state that no one desires to have around, so. But I get it.
There's an ongoing joke that the Minnesota state bird is the mosquito because they're so big and they're nasty here. And it's true. There's some spots where they're really bad. I feel like it depends on your blood type.
Maybe.
Like I have a couple friends that I can sit around a fire and not get bit once, and then they'll just be going like this the entire time.
Grady.
So, yeah, shout out Grady. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I have one more note here to, let's talk about the weather because it's talked about so much is how cold it is. If we go somewhere, out of state and someone asks where we're from, and we say Minnesota, they say, "Is it cold there?" It's like, yes, it can be.
And don't avoid Minnesota in the winter, because I'll tell you what, people that have been here for business that I have worked with previously and have never witnessed a Minnesota winter, especially during the holidays, they are blown away at how gorgeous it is.
Yeah.
We have a ton of different tours for Christmas lights, and there's all sorts of really cool towns that pride themselves in decorating for the holidays, and they have pop-up shops, and it's just a really cool experience. So if you've never done it, don't just travel here during the warm months. Our winters are pretty fun and cool.
Yep, I agree.
So.
Okay, so that concludes our list of reasons why people move or may not move to the state of Minnesota. If you have any thoughts or things that you'd like to add to this, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you like seeing stuff like this, consider giving us a follow or a subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.
Yeah. And if you want to move to Minnesota, you know who to call.
If you want to move to the great state of Minnesota, give us a call.
Bye, guys.